the numbers were strong. It seems a little like a come down after the launch that you guys just had, I guess, from an emotional perspective. But talk me through the numbers here and what were the biggest drivers, and then what you're looking at now for the remainder of this year.
Thanks, Julie. We had a transformative year in 2025. We were the first commercial company to successfully land on the surface of the moon, and we performed the longest number of days of a mission for NASA, 14 days. And we had 10 NASA payloads on there. We brought down 120 gigabytes of data. So it was an incredible achievement. But we also had our successful historic IPO on August 8th, which gave us a lot of cash on the balance sheet and gives us a lot of runway to grow. In addition to that, we acquired a AI company called SciTech in October of last year, and that really bolstered our national security defense work. In addition to is very important and strategic for orbital data center strategy as well. So those kinds of things really drove 2025, and the momentum carried on into 2026 with a successful Flight 7 of our Alpha launch vehicle. And that was a flawless launch. And we anticipate and are targeting 3 more launches this year of Alpha.
And Jason, I believe you were there in mission control, as it were, when that rocket was going off. I mean, talk to me about what that was like. We see all this stuff in the movies, right? When NASA has had rockets go off. How is it different when it's commercial space flight, and sort of what was that like emotionally being there as the rocket went off?
Well, this rocket is very special. It in 2023 performed a record-breaking launch in 24 hours for the Space Force, shattering the previous record of 21 days on a tactically responsive space launch. And every launch we've had is always basically mimicking that responsive launch. So this was no different. We launched at the first instance of the launch window, and it was flawless. I was in the control room with the rest of our team, and they were calm, cool, and collective. We had a first stage that was nominal in performance, a second stage that was nominal in performance. We did a relight of our second stage engine, and then we deployed a Lockheed Martin demonstrator. And so it was successful. And, it's really important because this was our last Block 1 Alpha rocket. Mm-hmm. We de-risked a lot of the technology that will fly on our upgraded Block 2 rocket that will be later this summer.
So you guys have that business, obviously, which is very important to you. You mentioned that SciTech acquisition. I think you closed close to the end of last year. And this is software that is used in incoming missile detection, is my understanding. Is that technology that is currently being used in the conflict in the Mideast?
Absolutely. It was operationally accepted by the Space Force last September. And so it's been operations for several months. In the first 30 days of the Iran conflict, Forge by SciTech, our subsidiary, processed over 1,000 missile threat messages and is really keeping our U.S. and our allies safe. And it continues to do that with modern AI software, force multiplying each Space Force operator in the 11th Space Wing so it could support the conflicts around the world.
So Jason, this stuff is obviously very cool, just from a layman's perspective. Between rockets and missile detection, you have this, more than doubling in the business. And yet I look at the stock, and it has come down quite a bit since that IPO, right? It's down about 50% from the IPO price. What do you think the market is not getting about your business, or what message are you trying to put out there?
Well, I think the market is starting to understand that we are an end-to-end full service provider in space. And so we have the entire ecosystem to launch satellites, build our own satellites and lunar landers, and do on-orbit processing using our SciTech algorithms. So it's really a capability that's end to end. There's a lot of tailwinds that are just now catching up with where we have been going. Things like the moon, the new NASA administrator, Jared Isaacman, wants to go to the moon's South Pole with robotic landers, such as our Blue Ghost lander, every month starting in 2027, next year. And then in addition to that, there's orbital data center emphasis that is springing up, and everything we're doing with SciTech on the ground with orbital data, ground-based data centers is transferable to orbital data centers in the future. And then finally, our rockets, whether it's our Alpha rocket, that's the only 1-ton rocket on the market that has orbital flight heritage, that we're going to rate up with our Alpha rocket. And we're also, everything we're learning from the Alpha rocket is reducing risk for our medium lift vehicle Eclipse that we're co-developing with Northrop Grumman, and that's going to be able to launch constellations in the future.
So Jason, all of this, again, very cool, implies a lot of growth here. At the same time, it is not a low-cost business. You guys burned, I think, $79 million in cash in the fourth quarter. You're planning to increase CapEx this year. When do you see that cash burn start to sort of decrease or be mitigated? And when do you expect to go free cash flow positive?
The drivers to that goal are launch cadence. And, we're going to launch Alpha 4 times this year, and then we're going to steadily improve our launch cadence on Alpha year to year. And as we get more launches, we'll be able to get it to positive. In addition to that, our SciTech business, they do a lot of national security work. And a lot of those tailwinds in terms of the Iran conflict and Golden Dome, SciTech is well positioned for those very lucrative contracts.